good.
Did they find a tooth? Or did they find an eye? Did they bury it in the yard or the bake it in a pie? I don't know why I'm questioning.
Alright, so what we're going to create today is basically a character sheet that we're going to use to establish what a character looks like. You do this whenever you know you got to draw a character over and over and over and over again, or if you're going to have somebody else draw your character and you need them to know what that character looks like from all sides. So to start with, I'm going to just do cannon of the human body. Start with the head up here. And you do a character sheet whenever you need to know what your character is going to look like all the way around. If you need to communicate to a character or just somebody what your character looks like. That's the purpose of a character sheet. If you know you're going to draw something over and over and over again, it's really important to be familiar with what that character looks like. Now I'm doing one head width out to the side to establish the shoulders. One head below the belly button establishes the crotch. Our elbows hit at about, not quite the end of the ribs, but pretty close. And then the rest goes down 7.5. So we can measure 1, 2, 3, good, 4, 5, 6, 7, and almost a half. Alright, she's going to be a little bit short. She's kind of based on elf. Now the only difference between women's muscles and men's muscles, unless you want to draw them all bulked out, is they are a little more slight. A little more graceful, a little less bulky. Alright. And we always get thinner as we get to the joints. Alright. The one major difference is we're going to curve in on her waist. Alright, good. We're going to split here for her legs. And I'm going to go up. I feel like my hands came down a little too far. Because your fingers should touch your mid-thighs when your hands are extended. So if I put her hands in fists, that'd be about where the crotch is. So we're in good shape there. Alright. Give her some bosoms. Once again, the teardrops come out from the neck. Booyah. Booyah. We can thicken up that rib cage if we want. We can make the hips a little curvier if we want. Or we can make them more faint. More subtle. Alright, with that in mind, now I have to draw the other sides. The left side, the right side, and the back. Now the back's not going to be a huge problem, because it's kind of like the front without certain details. But I'm going to use this ruler to give me a parallel line. Alright, so there's the top of her head. I'll try to measure it with the other. There's the bottom of her head. Here's the top of her shoulders. Bottom of her breasts. Elbows. And I'm eyeballing this. I mean, I could seriously measure it if I wanted to. Wrists. Hands, which tells me this hand has to be a little longer. Where my ankle and my feet start. Alright. And now before I go through the effort of putting on all the clothes, which I will do, that's the whole point of the character sheet. Gotta know what they're wearing. I'm gonna start sketching out the rest of the area where she will be. Alright, so on this side will be her right side facing toward her. Now I'm gonna curve her head at first, but we know these are not the simple shapes that a profile head has. Profile head really has more of a circle with a square, but at least this will give me the pitch of the head. That's at that angle. I flip it, it's at that angle. Alright, shoulder here, shoulder here. I can even check that. I can see that this arm goes all the way to here. I can see that this forearm goes all the way to here. Alright. Now I can go back and start to figure out the circle. So profile, the skull profile is going to be circle plus square. Square is going to go to about there. Circle plus square, boom, boom. On that side. And I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth between these two to keep the sizes right. Mm-hmm. And this side will be a stick. Right. This line here where the crotch is also where the booty begins. I'm going to curve in. What a lot of people don't get is your shoulder blades stick out. Not hugely, but enough that they should be compensated for. Alright. Neck. Shoulder blades. I have this pitch here becomes small at the back. Boom, boom. My thighs, my hip bones, underside of the breasts, bring this back, my neck comes down. And I'm just kind of playing along, sketching this out. I can change it as I go if I want to. We have a knee. We have a calf. This foot goes this way. I don't know why I gave her a double butt. I'll fix that up. Alright. And I'm going to come in here and do the nose, the upper lip, the lower lip. Now this is all going to be a generality because I'm doing this character sheet based on a character I created in high school. And she's supposed to be an intricate character in my story, and yet she ended up so far back in the storyline because the first book ended up becoming 4 books instead of just 1, that I'm just going to kind of loosely draw her here as a placeholder. And I'm also going to take and divide up the head with my canon of the human body, or my canon of the human head. Half and half, halfway between the nose and chin is the eyes, halfway between the eyes and chin is the nose, halfway between the chin and the nose is the mouth. Alright, so I've got 2 sides and a front. Now I got to do a back. Alright, my back is going to be kind of like my front, definitely being because 1, 2, 3, 4, the measurements are going to be similar. Once again, we're looking at that stick figure. All the way down. Shoulder, shoulder. Arm, arm. Curve for the hips. Alright. Now, here's the big difference from the front to the back. We have to curve up and do a buttocks. Now, most of this will probably get covered in clothing. But, for the time being, all this lines up, right? Just like your wrists line up, just like everything else. I have seen people literally put the booty down where the knees are. And then I have to go, what happened? Something bad happened. Call the doctor. Alright, from the back of her head, she does not have eyeballs, or she doesn't have any of that stuff to worry about. Ears will become a problem because, like I said, this character is based slightly on an elf. So that's where I've started with that. Now, I'm also going to include 3 heads, 3 different angles. So you could do these next 3 drawings on a separate sheet of paper, or if you have this kind of room or you draw incredibly small, you can work them over here. I'm going to draw these heads larger because honestly, since I haven't drawn her since high school, I draw her in the same ability level as I had when I was in high school. And I like to think, being that I haven't been in high school since the 80s, that I've gotten better. I hate to think I draw exactly the same like I did in 1984. That would be, that'd be a little depressing. So I did my front view, as we said, halfway between top and the bottom eyes, halfway between the eyes and chin, nose, halfway between nose and chin, mouth. All right, for the 3/4 view, same thing happens, but the head is turned and you round these lines. Now your center line is off center. 3/4 this way, 1/4 this way. It's a little different. Halfway between here and here is the nose. Halfway between the nose and chin is the mouth. There'll be more mouth on this side. There'll be an angle to the nose over here somewhere. I really don't know what kind of nose I'm going to give her yet. I do know I want her to have high cheekbones because I like that squint that some people have to make them look intelligent. And this character is supposed to be very intelligent. Kind of a Hermione Granger if Hermione was raised by robots and was a ninja. So there's kind of a combination there that is not really Hermione Granger at that point. All right, and my profile view, I'm going to take and do my circle, and then I'm going to do my square. Booyah, booyah. In where the square touches, out, upper lip, lower lip. I know she has a very strong jawline because I have always drawn her with a strong jawline. So we have to see where this goes today. There's a few things I'm going to do with her design that are just comfort level things for me. When we draw from the left side of the brain, we tend to pull out certain stops all the time. So we're going to need a different expression for each one of these pictures. All right. I'm also going to bring it in a little more curved in the back of the head. Bring this line out. All right. This one I'm going to make her frowny. Okay. So my memory card filled up there, so I got a little bit of a break. In that time period, I missed out some stuff. Get this ear down around here. And this jawline a little farther like this. Clip this out. Got more subtle looking expressions on here than I normally do for students' examples. And that's really, part of that is because this is supposed to be a character sheet for myself. So, in drawing for myself. Now, here's the thing. I said I wanted the underside of the eyes flat. And I guess I'm going to almond shape the other parts of the eyes. I'm noticing right here that my mouth is a little low. Like I said, since I'm going to give her a very thin upper lip, these are all things like you want to keep in mind when you're creating your character personality wise. What are their traits? What are their downsides? You know, would she be self-conscious about a thinner upper lip? My nose is a bit off. Maybe you want to give people or characters stuff like that, where they're like, you know, this is what bothers me about myself, because everybody's got that. Everybody's got something they're not crazy about, and it makes them worry, right? things that they're like, well, if they knew who I really am, they wouldn't like me. And that's not always true, but... Alright, so... Now, the biggest problem when drawing characters with big pointed ears is those ears have to stick up. So part of the ear is going to get covered. The problem that I have with this character is she was basically raised from like being a 3 or 4 year old by a AOD, which is an artificial organic drone, who had an English accent. So growing up around an English accent, she picked one up a little bit. Alright, that's part of her character. It was also a very primitive planet. So she had to spend her time making her own clothes, first out of plants, then out of animal skins. She learned magic. This is a very unorthodox way of using magic. She is actually a siphon. So she can siphon powers. Or she can siphon life force off of things to use to change the reality of other things. So she could wave at a whole strand of trees and they would disappear. Okay. So with that, I'm not really sure what to do clothing-wise for her, because I figured that was going to be like one of her kind of pseudo-obsessions. Like, she spent her whole life without the option of getting clothes. So she would probably find clothes absolutely fascinating, fascinating as a character. So I'm going to say most of the time I want her to dress rather smartly. Not necessarily a Men in Black thing, but she's a big fan of button-collared shirts because they look a little more elegant. She also travels in different time periods with the Keeper of the Gateway, so she actually has access to fashion across the universe. So she can come out looking a bit quirky at times, because even though she's traveling in time, she really has no basis for what would be period appropriate. Like if she's in the 1880s, it wouldn't bother her to wear some hippie clothing. But it would bother everybody in the 1880s because they would find that scandalous. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some retro Victorian sleeves here, which were slightly big in was it the early 90s? Maybe it was the late 80s, I can't remember. Granny dresses. The problem is I'm not that big of a fan of fashion. So, and it probably wouldn't hurt me to go see what the side of a collar looks like. I'm also going to cut down on the bosoms a little bit because they look a little pendulous. Right. I'm also going to give her a skirt. Alright. And with that skirt, should probably be the same length across. Maybe I'll draw her hairstyle a little different here, because growing up alone on a planet, talking to basically was the equivalent of an English butler, camper, I would assume she would have a fascination with all things that would be very feminine, because it would seem so foreign to her. would be very new. Braiding your hair would be a new thing. Makeup would seem insane to her. I mean, that could be the other option too. Maybe she just goes, this is all crazy. Why do these people waste all this time on this? They don't need that to survive. So it kind of becomes like this hobby thing. Gives her a personality quirk. And you see, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of just going from one to one. I'm not completely finishing one as I go because I'm not sure where I'm going with it, you know. To me, it's easier like, okay, well, now's the chance to do all the ears. When you're doing these two profiles, if you've done the vase assignment, you can actually kind of apply that to this. See, this is where if you're going to do a braid, you probably should look online and see what a braid looks like. And eventually I will do that. I'm just doing a spot holding kind of thing for now. Just to get me from point A to point B. Alright, and all those should relatively line up. Pretty close. That one's a little high. So what I'm going to do for a moment here is I'm going to pause. And I'm going to go feed my dogs. And we'll come back, we'll talk about the gesture drawings. Recording. Alright, as you can tell from the last time we looked at this, a lot of stuff has happened. And unfortunately, a lot of stuff has happened that I thought I had on tape, but I did not. So, I did a little bit of detail. I was going to speed draw this for you. I know I made 3 different cuts that have not just completely disappeared on that flash drive. So what I'm going to attempt to do now, with the strap not in the way, is I'm going to show you how to do a gesture sketch, how to put your character doing something in motion. Now what I did was go to the internet, download some poses. The problem is with trying to find poses for characters is you have to remember comic books are read by a lot of teenage boys and drawn by people who probably never really fell out of being a teenage boy. So a lot of these poses that we have for women are not particularly practical poses. They're not particularly realistic in a fight. All right, nobody in a fight would be doing this or stretching or, you know, they're fine for other scenes. But here, I'm going to show you how to basically take and steal a pose. Here we got her. I'm going to use number 2 here. Even though, to be honest, this is kind of a ridiculous pose too. Alright, I'm going to just kind of do out the neck. I'm assuming she's kind of in a 3/4 view. So I'm splitting the head the way it should be split. Alright, her spine, 1, 2, 3, to the belly button. Alright, one more. Down is probably going to be the crotch. Alright, and her shoulders are coming off here to the side. So I'm basically stealing this pose, but I'm using the canon of the human body and my sighting skills to steal this pose. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half. So her foot is going to be down here. So this thigh is at this angle. This thigh is at this angle. Now is her leg going to disappear behind this drawing? Unfortunately, it is. And there's not a lot I can do about that at this moment. I got this weird thing where her calf is out to the edge. And then there's a foot. And her thigh comes like this. Now, a lot of times when we draw And we use the cannon, we're doing our mask skills, right? We're going 3 heads to the belly button, blah, blah, blah. But you can also apply to the cannon of the human body all those realism skills and these sighting skills that I am showing right now. So like when we go back, and I want to say, does this arm come in a little? Yeah. Alright, does it hang more loose behind her? Yeah. Does her hand go back here? I have no idea why. I'm going to soften up those shoulders a little bit so she doesn't look quite so rigid. Look, I even stole the angle of the bosom. This head should be a little more this way, so maybe it's not quite as 3/4 as we originally intended. Alright. This pulls up, this pulls up. There's this wonkiness to this leg that I'm not particularly happy about. I really should have, since she is a magic user, I probably should have drawn a pose where she looks like she's casting a spell. But as you can see, I stole that whole pose either by citing or by using information that I have from knowing the canon of the human body, just like you guys do. And now I get to try to figure out what on God's earth she should look like. You know what? I'm going to give her a hoodie. Alright. I'm going to sketch in a hood. Give her a t-shirt. Make it black. Bunch up her arms. As everybody pushes your hoodie arms up. A bunch that up there. Boom, boom. Then I'll give her jeans. Maybe, here, I'll give her some 1989 shorts. Back when everybody had this really bulky, super long, almost like board pant shorts, but they made them out of blue jeans. And some good times, man, really good times. Alright. And then maybe, not only that, I'm going to keep with this 80s flair that I've given her. This pseudo hippie that's not a hippie. And I'll give her some toes. I'll give her a nice T-strap sandal here. Because those were big back then. Vaulato, how do you know all this? I was dating my wife at the time. All I have to do is think about how she dressed. Alright, nose up. I need a better pencil. Alright. Her nose has a little bit of that pug flare to it. Her cheek comes in. Her hair comes down like this. That she would hide in her hair or her hoodie. Since she's so far away with her eyes, I can kind of slim down on the details. Shade in along this side, boom, boom. Shade under the ear, boom, boom. Alright, so forth and so on. So I basically just whipped that out in a few minutes. Is it the best costuming I've ever done? Nah, it's definitely not. But I've got an extra gesture sketch along with these. So, what your character sheet needs to have. Alright, these are definites. You have to have your walk around. Alright. So you got the side, the right side, the front, the left side, the back. You got to have your 3 close-ups of the head, front, 3/4, profile with different expressions. right? These are a little more subtle if you want ones where they're screaming or, you know, whatever. Tears of sadness and that's fine. You can draw them extreme. And then you need at least 2 gesture sketches. All right, of your character. You can change up the clothes on your character in these gesture sketches. You can change the haircut on this character. I'm assuming your character's going to have been around for a while. So, you know, maybe he's going to decide he's going through a different phase. Maybe start off goth. Now he dresses like a businessman. Oh, I remember my childhood. I was so angry. Whatever the case may be, you're the one creating your character. All right? So that's basically it. As you can tell from these, I'll just show you real quick. I stole this running pose off this little pose here, and I did this. That's how I drew that leg. That's how I drew that calf. That's how I drew that thigh. Did I add stuff? Did I give her culottes? Yeah, I gave her some culottes. Those are wide leg shorts that look like a dress. Alright? Kind of wanted to go for that Diana Princess thing. Yeah, I just took all the lines over. That's all I did. It's drawing. It's a skill. It's one you can learn way easier than you can learn reading and writing. And most of you guys can read or write at least enough to answer a text message. So, have fun. Work on your character. Make it awesome. Alright? Have a good day. We will see you later. Bye-bye.